You join me today with my Disney princess mug full of tea, a laptop with all the numbers on it for the cost of ownership for my C63 AMG. Ooh, let's have a cup of tea. A lot of people requested me to make this video and I was kind of like, yeah, I'll make it. And then I started working out all the numbers and it's become really interesting. So I've gone quite in depth into this, which is great if you're looking at buying one of these cars. I've gone into the servicing costs, the modification costs, the insurance costs, tax and fuel costs. If you're new to the channel, I used to own a W204 C63 AMG. It was a white coupe edition 125 from 2012. Okay, so I bought the car in April 2021, and the first thing that I did to it was basically get rid of this awful hydro-dipped diffuser that it had on it with like a fake carbon effect. So I fitted a genuine OEM Mercedes rear diffuser, and that cost me £105.99. I fitted that myself, so there was no labour cost, but I imagine if you took it into a garage, they'd probably charge you like an hour's labour, which would be something like 70 quid. According to my spreadsheet, I then bought some power assisted steering fluid because I think the level was a little bit low when I bought the car, and that cost me £12.90. Obviously there's no labour there because you just undo the cap and pour it in. The next thing that I had done was I took the car to have all the things that I'd noticed and wanted solving to MB Tech in Warrington, and that included changing all the spark plugs. There was a humming noise from the wheel bearing which annoyed me. Investigating that cost £210. The spark plugs were £194 to change them. I had a four-wheel alignment which was £79 and two new front tyres at £276. So the total cost for that one service package was, with VAT, £906.62. So at this point I'd owned the car for 1 month and I'd just spent £1,000 on it in the first month. What can you do? So the next thing that I did was to drain replace the engine oil and filter. The car takes quite a lot of oil. It's about 9 litres, so you basically have to buy 10 litres. But I bought all mine from genuine Mercedes-Benz of Newcastle, who have a really good eBay site and are priced very, very well, often cheaper than like Euro car parts and stuff. So I bought 10 litres of oil off them and an oil filter, which cost £69.19. I did that change myself, which I'm estimating is about an hour and a half's labour at £70 per hour. For a garage to do that, if you weren't going to do it yourself, and just to give you a rough idea, I think it would have cost about £127.50. So it's about £130. Next up was the chrome badge on the rear of the car. I changed it because it was the wrong one. It was black and it was also the wrong shape for that year car. It was a facelift car, so it should have had the new AMG, and I had to change that. So that was £21.95. I made a video on that if you want to check that out. So there was no labour cost and you can do it yourself quite easily. When I was cleaning the car one day, I noticed that there was some clear lacquer peeling off one of the wheels. I think from memory it was the rear right wheel. So I had the wheel refurbished by AC Alloys, and he charged me £60 just for the one wheel, which I thought was a pretty good deal, and none of the other wheels needed refurbishing. But I didn't film that because it was quite a simple process, and whilst I was watching him do it, I was thinking I could have done this myself. The next spend for me was the wheel bearing. Now, I did actually take it to MB Tech to try and sort out. There was a humming noise. They changed front tyres, which made it slightly better, but it didn't completely fix it. And that was kind of annoying me, so I sort of gave up on using garages by this point and just fixed it myself. I knew it was the front left wheel bearing because when I went around a right-hand corner at motorway speeds, it would get slightly louder. So in total, to replace the front left wheel hub and bearing assembly for me was £255.12. I think if you took it to a garage and just said, please change this wheel bearing, they'd probably charge you 2 hours labour. At £70 an hour, I'm guessing that's about £140. So that rounds up everything for 2021. Now, I do actually have an invoice for November 2021, but that's for a front bumper respray, which I booked in November 21, but I didn't get it done until March 22. The story behind that is that I took the car to a jet wash, and the cretin that was using the jet wash wand basically sprayed a stone chip and it flaked all the paint off the front bumper, which was really annoying. And that cost me £357.50. I didn't do anything on that. I basically let them strip the car down. they sanded all the paint off and took it back to primer, reprimed it, painted it, put it all back together. So I just paid £357.50, which I think was a really good cost for a front bumper respray to that quality that I had it done to. Now I sawned the car for quite a long time. I think I sawned it for 6 months because the weather was just horrendous over winter. And I didn't really spend any money on it until its next service, which was in May 22. And I had a B service, so that's the big one, at SPR Autos in Stockport. And they charged me £408 just for the B service. So that's oil, air filters and a check. At the time that I took it in for the service, they also pointed out that my serpentine belt was slightly frayed. I'd already noticed that. And because they spotted it as well, I was like, okay, I'll probably change the serpentine belt, check the pulleys while I'm at it. So I put a new serpentine belt on it, £43.09. And when I was checking the pulleys, I found 2 or 3 that I didn't like. So I bought a new pulley kit, also from SPR Autos, £113.40. I imagine if you paid SPR Autos to do it, they did send me an invoice. I'm guessing they'll charge you about £140 labour, 2 hours labour. You're probably more like 300. On top of that, I'd also noticed that the power steering was a little bit noisy, and that really annoyed me, as most noises do with a car. I learned that there was a filter inside the pass fluid reservoir that never really gets changed because it's never on a service interval, £54.14. I initially only bought 1 litre of power steering fluid, and I basically made a mess of that and had a bit of a leak, which you can see here. I'll link the video, which meant that I then had to replace the serpentine belt that I just put on, because I didn't want this sticky pass fluid over a serpentine belt. So I put a new belt on, so that was another £43.09, as well as 2 litres of pass fluid, which was £25.80. So the total for me to do everything on that car myself, including paying someone else to do the servicing, cost me £2,476.79 for the 14 months that I owned the car, which works out at about £177 per month just to have the car before it turns a wheel. If you were to pay someone else to do all the work that I just ran through, it's going to work out at about £3,164.29 for 14 months, which averages out at about £226.02. So I did this video on my MX-5, and I didn't really go into insurance costs because it's so variable. It depends on where you live, how many miles you do, you know, who drives the car. There's so many variables on it, how often they get stolen in your area, the value of the car, etc., etc. But it was the #1 comment on that video was, how much is your insurance? So on this video, I'm going to include it. I'm 27 years old. When I bought the car, I was 26 years old. So my insurance in 2021 was actually slightly more expensive than in 2022. I lived in the same house for both the years. It was stored in the same garage. There's no other changes. So in 2021, the insurance cost me £80.87 a month. Personally, I think that's quite low for a 460 horsepower coupe Mercedes for a 26-year-old. But it is garage stored, and I think I got it insured for 10,000 miles a year for the first year. I ended up only doing 3,500 miles in the car in my total ownership. In 2022, I knocked the miles down, was 5,000 miles a year I think I was insured for, again, fully comp, and that only cost me £48.35 a month. So it's really not that much considering the car, the speed and the power, I thought anyway. So tax for the car is like the top tax bracket in the UK, as I'm sure you know. The first year I paid for 6 months up front because I had an inkling that I wasn't going to use it over winter. And the second year I paid for it monthly because I'd rather pay for it monthly. The premium I think is, again, I think it's about £30 over the course of the year, or £30 over 6 months additional if you pay for it monthly. So it's not a great idea to pay for it monthly, but at the time it felt better to pay for it monthly because I wasn't really using it. So if we add all these numbers up, in 2021, not including servicing and DIY bits that I did to the car, that's just tax and insurance, was £133.37. And in 2022 was £100.85 a month. Before the car has turned a wheel, the figure on your screen now is what I was paying per month before I put any fuel in it and started driving it. In 2022, that is what I was paying a month before I put fuel or drove anywhere in the car. That's your monthly figure. Let's move on to fuel. And in my opinion, if you are worried about fuel when you are buying a C63 W204, it is not the car for you, because it should be irrelevant really. The car only runs on 99 RON. So in my ownership, I did about 3,500 miles, and I averaged between 250 and 280 miles per tank, and it's a 60-litre tank. That's about 4.41 miles per litre. In 2021, the fuel price averaged about $1.49 a litre for the premium fuel that I used. At 3,500 miles that I did, that's about £1,155 on fuel. Now in 2022, the 99 RON fuel price averaged out at about $1.99 per litre, which is about 45p a mile. So the total ownership at 2022 prices for 3,500 miles would have been £1,575. So if we take an average of those two figures across the 2021 and 2022 ownership, the average fuel spend per mile is about 39p a mile. So in my ownership, averaging out the cost between 2021 and 2022 fuel prices, it cost me £1,365. My 2021 cost to do 250 miles a month in my C63 was £407.78. And in 2022, the same miles, 250 miles a month, averaged across my ownership was £375.26 per month to run the car. If you were to own the car, you didn't do your own DIY and servicing, but you did everything that I did and paid someone else to do it, you lived in the same area as me, and you did the average 250 miles a month that I did, your cost would be £456.89 and £424.37 per month in 2022. So do you think that's a decent cost to pay each month to own the car? Let me know. Obviously, it's quite expensive. This doesn't include the cost of purchasing the car. Obviously, I bought the car outright, which is quite a big investment, but the cars retain their value really well. I don't know what the car prices are at the moment whilst you're watching this video, but this obviously doesn't include that. And realistically, just to run this car, you're probably paying the same as like a Golf GTI in leasing costs. You could lease a new Golf GTI for the price of running the C63, because obviously these costs that I'm going through here, you're never going to get that money back. It goes to insurance companies, parts departments and garages. But that's the joy of owning a nice, very fast coupe kind of GT car. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. Was it enough maths for you? My light has just turned off, which I think is a very fitting end to the video, because I'm out of tea and the battery in the light is gone. Please check out some of the videos that I've filmed on the car, because I think if you're watching this video and you made it this far, you'll probably be pretty interested in those if you haven't seen them already. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Cheers.